it's Jacq. Let's just take a breath. And let's take a moment to chill together and shape our little corner of the world into something that we want to see and we want to experience. Let's make therapeutic art. If you guys don't know what therapeutic art facilitation is, you can check out this video that I made a couple weeks ago. I'll put it in the description too, or somewhere, so you can look it up. But basically what therapeutic arts facilitation is, it's activities that promote mental health and nervous system regulation using art as a medium in which the process of making art is more important than the finished piece. So that's basically what therapeutic arts facilitation is, like in a gist. But to get like a more in-depth idea, go ahead and check out my video. So I don't know why, but that eclipse that happened yesterday was just so emotionally intense for me. I don't know. It probably wasn't the eclipse. I'm not an astrologer or anything. Like, for me, what inspired this activity actually was a meltdown that I had the day before the eclipse. That like wisdom from that meltdown that I had is what inspired this activity. What we're going to be doing is sculpting our self-concept. So the materials that you need for this activity are air dry clay, a journal for reflection, and paint and a paintbrush, which is optional. If you like the look of like unfinished clay, then you don't have to paint it. It's really just an extra step in the process that I did for fun. You want to journal and turn your attention towards like positive traits, positive things that you like about yourself. And your challenge is to hold that thought in your head, that positive thought in your head, while you make a finished sculpture. You can sculpt abstractly the positive thought if you want to. That's what I was doing, but you also don't have to. You just want to try to make a finished sculpture, and if you notice that you're getting distracted or like negative thoughts are coming up to challenge that positive thought, you smash your sculpture and you start from scratch. So the challenge is to hold the positive thought the whole time that you're making the sculpture. And it's like a fun challenge, but it's also to help you hold this positive thought in your brain long enough to really rework and rewire those neural pathways that are like habitually sending us to like a negative thought. In order to like make it habitual to hold that positive thought, we need to hold it for like a certain amount of time. Depending on how difficult that is for you to hold like a positive thought for a prolonged period of time, you can adjust the size of your sculpture. So like if you even make a small one that just takes like 30 seconds, then you did it, and that's awesome. And you challenged those other like negative pathways, and you did something great for yourself today. So yeah, that's the objective. The first step is to get your clay and warm it up. So while we warm up the clay together, I'll let you guys in a little bit more in depth on like my thought process in developing this activity. Like once the first intense wave of emotions passed in this like meltdown that I was having, I was able to kind of clearly see, I think also because I'd been in therapy dealing with some of these things already, so it was easier for me to notice them, like where they were coming from when they came up. But I was noticing that like a lot of the things that were making me feel bad in this meltdown, these like self-critical thoughts that I was having, were coming from somebody else. How I discovered this about myself was by like naming the feeling that I was going through, and then thinking, okay, when have I felt this way before, and when was the last time that I felt this way, and then was there a time before that and before that, until I tracked, like I couldn't go back any farther, so I had tracked it all the way back to the source. And I realized that a lot of these like self-critical thoughts were projected at me from somebody else, and whether or not they felt that these like criticisms were warranted or not, I just realized that that person who was projecting those things that I internalized for like such a long time without even realizing it, like that person then and me now, like I'm a way better judge of character in my opinion. Like in noticing that, I was able to think, okay, like just objectively looking at my opinion and this person's opinion, I want to listen to my opinion. So if I can try to look at myself objectively, what do I now think of myself? Like if I saw myself as a stranger walking down the street, what would I think of her, aka me? And I realized that I actually have some pretty positive things to think about myself. I think about myself pretty positively. I think about other people pretty positively. I'm capable of seeing good in others. I'm capable of seeing good in the world and nurturing that good and bringing that good out. We're all capable of noticing or nurturing either the good or the bad. It's a choice. Like if I sink into the negative critical thoughts that I've internalized, find more things to criticize. But if I lean into the good and try to notice the good, then I can also allow those things to blossom. It's a choice. Unconsciously, like whether we realize it or not, we internalize a lot of the opinions and beliefs of the adults around us during our childhood. And then as we get older, we think that those are our own, when really we just don't remember the first time that they were exposed to us or put in our minds. And so like back to the sculpting that we're doing, you don't have to, or you shouldn't necessarily be looking at things like other people, like from the outside, like how you look, or like markers of success, things that like we've been told are like elements of good self-esteem, like thinking highly of the way we look and thinking highly of like our success. Because like the reality is we're inside of our bodies. Like I'm inside of my body looking out from my eyes. I don't like necessarily even notice what I look like unless there's a mirror or like a camera or something, you know? I don't really, like what I look like doesn't impact my experience because I'm like looking out from my body. I'm not looking back at myself. So something like, for example, that you can like think about are aspects of like your felt experience that you really enjoy. So one thing that I paid attention to was my capacity to experience joy. That's something that we don't really notice, but some people don't have that capacity, like naturally, to experience joy. And me, as an autistic person, I have some pretty intense experiences, and I notice a lot when like things that are hurtful really dramatically impact me. And I hardly ever notice or appreciate how positive things also are like more intense for me. Like I experience joy more intensely than a neurotypical person. And so that's something that I was appreciating and noticing for my sculpture, was my capacity to experience joy within my body. That's something that's unique. So whatever it is, if you can't like think of a positive trait, one thing is that you're here and you're trying to gain a new perspective and you're trying to see things in a positive way. So that's already something good that you can list. And I feel like if I was there in the room with you, I would probably be able to think of like so many good things that you contribute just by existing and being yourself. I'm just aware of how hard it can be like on your own to think of good things about yourself when people are always quicker and louder to say all the negative things, and those can easily get stuck in your head. And so sometimes, like in the past when I've tried to do therapeutic art activities and I'm sitting trying to think of something that I like about myself, it like makes you feel really discouraged that you can't think of anything. So just know that I get it, and there is good in you. There's good in everybody, even if you can't see it. And I wanted to make this like flowery kind of open bowl thing because that's what my experience of joy felt like. And then I realized when I was making it that there's like an openness in the middle, like a vacancy, and I didn't like keeping that hollowness. And so I added some little bits that look like star bits to put in the middle. So once you finish your sculpture and you've completed your challenge, you just leave it to air dry. Then if you want to, you can paint it. And I chose to paint mine, and I wanted to paint like kind of a rainbow, but the colors didn't end up blending together, so it's just kind of like a layer of blue and a layer of pink and some yellow, and the star clusters on the inside I made yellow too.
Once I wouldn't say it, would I? Once you wouldn't. No. Right. It's time you do.
So I think it looks really cute. It's just like a little thing, and I get to look at it and remember the like growth that I've done and my own capacity to grow and experience good things and see good things in the world and see good things in people, people including me. I'm a person in the world. I deserve to have my own good perspective too. I hope you guys had fun with this activity too. I hope you guys have seen yourself in a different perspective through this activity, even just for a second. So let's just take another breath together. And focus on how we feel now and see if anything's shifted, even if it's just subtle, even if you feel like a subtle catharsis, or catharsis is like an endorphin rush that you get from releasing emotions. So even if it's just like a super subtle feeling of relaxation that you didn't have before, just like notice that. It might not seem significant to do some like weird little sculpture for like 10 minutes, but even that can really impact like your brain. And notice also like in the next few days, in the next few weeks, if anything's changed in like your own capacities. Sometimes we start to blossom when we see goodness. So yeah, I put in the description all of the links to all the research that I was reading and creating this activity, and I put my link tree if you guys want to connect with me on social. If you make this activity, please show me. I'm so curious about you guys' sculptures. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, a great weekend. Keep your inner child alive. Bye!